I was slow. I wasn't able to have a conversation. I wasn't able to talk. I wasn't even able to keep the drool in my mouth. I wasn't able to sleep. I wasn't able to eat. And it was rough.
Welcome back to In the Works, where we celebrate ingenuity, resilience, and craftsmanship through interviews with the people behind GRIP6, entrepreneurs, and other American-based businesses. Subscribe to us on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. In today's episode, we're going to be talking to our sock engineer, Rhyan Werner. Ryan, welcome to the show.
What's up, Danny? How's it going? Why are you always yelling at the mic, man?
Because I have to yell at the mic.
Hey, that's all right. It's all right. How's it going, man?
Oh, so good, man. I'm so excited to have you on the show today. I've been wanting to have you on the show since I learned a little bit about your story, and I'm excited for other people to get to know who you are.
I'm stoked. I'm an open book, so ask away, man. There's so much to learn about me.
There is a lot to learn from you, and so let's take a second. Talk to me a little bit about what you do here, what's your role, and how long you've been here.
Okay, so I've been here three years. Back in March of 2021 is when I got hired, and since then I've done a bunch of different things here at GRIP6. My first day, I was putting together wallets with little screws back, our old wallets. It was no good. It was no fun. After that, I was in our buckle department, tumbling our buckles, making sure that they were nice, soft, and all that jazz, not scratched up. And then I got put into our sock department, which is kind of where it really took off. I was able to learn under Cassidy Kais, who's no longer with us, but he taught me a bunch about socks in general, like what makes a good sock. He showed me the good work ethic that it takes to be able to produce good socks, and the trial and the error and the constant repetition of, just putting the time in to figure out what's going to make a good sock. So now currently I'm the manager of the entire knitting department. I oversee the fabrication of our socks. I oversee the maintenance of our machines. I oversee the programming and designing of our socks. So it's been super fun. I have a team of 3 technicians. They all work their butts off, and we've been producing a lot of good numbers lately.
Yeah, you guys have. And just a quick announcement, we did just release a brand new sock. It's a Tick Like Crew. A little bit more about that later because I want to talk that with you. But
yes,
Ryan, I know for a fact that you coming to GRIP6 was a bit of a life-changing experience.
1,000%.
For you, actually, will you say that one more time?
1,000%, yeah.
For you, talk to me a little bit about I guess walk me through Ryan before GRIP6.
Oh, man. Okay, Ryan before GRIP6 was 100% different person than you see today. I am a recovering addict. I've been in recovery for 3 years, working on my 4th year strong. My drugs of choice were crystal meth and fentanyl, so you could imagine the difference in the lifestyles from what you see today as to how I was. Unfortunately, I did start with drugs super early. I was 14 when I started with meth, so it took its toll all throughout high school. I dropped out of high school. I did go to school and I went to Stephen Henniger over on Vine Street. It's no longer there, but went and got my GED. Broke 2 records at the college when I was 16, getting my GED. Got back into drugs.
What record?
The 2 records that I broke were the math test score for the GED test that school had seen was the highest score on the math test. So that was pretty sweet. And then the amount of time it took me to complete their course.
Okay, so I want to stop you there for a little bit. So
Okay.
I think it's amazing. It's just crazy to think that at 14 years old, you were introduced to meth,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
That's a story for another day.
Yeah, 100%.
But I had another friend of mine who also got involved with drugs early on, and so I know that it can be a huge factor, especially in your early childhood. But going to Stephen Henniger, and what was that like finding out that you broke records that at a stage of life where maybe you thought, well, I guess why did you decide to go pursue to get a GED?
Honestly, a huge person that I have to thank for that is my Aunt Joanne Werner, and then her ex-husband, my Uncle Michael Werner. Both of them have really kind of guided me into being a productive member of society after they took me on as a stray child. That was the joke. But they had some expectations for me. They saw that I was intelligent, and they were like, "You're not gonna be a deadbeat, dude. That's not an option. You're too smart. You're not gonna waste your talents." So bare minimum, you're going to have to get a job and your GED, or you're going to have to go back to high school. Those were the two choices I was presented with when I was 16 years old. And I was like, I'm an adult. I'm an adult. It was hilarious. I regret that choice today. But I did go. I got myself a car. I bought myself a car. I got a job. And I got myself my GED. And those accomplishments kind of, I think, were the start of the foundation for me realizing that I was capable of pretty much anything I put my mind to, you know what I mean? And that was like the first step to me believing in myself. Even though I didn't really at that point in time, I think it was the start for sure, because I had accomplished goals. I had set dates that I wanted them accomplished by, and I hit those goals, you know, so it was pretty sweet, dude. I enjoy it.
That's awesome, man. I think that it's important to remember that, like, you know, there's so many people in our lives that like influence us at different times that are just that you need at those times.
Yep.
That help you move to that next kind of like, not necessarily next level, but like
quite literally, like one of the things that I learned in NA was you sometimes have to take life as it comes. They say day by day. I had to break that down to second by second sometimes, dude. Like, how am I going to get through this day? How am I going to get through this hour, dude? I don't know. Like the first 6 months, 9 months, year that I was here at GRIP6 was rough, dude. Like I had a lot of stress. I didn't know how I was going to be a productive member of society. I was just happy to have a job. You know, I was happy to not be homeless anymore, you know. And so I had to take it day by day, dude. Day by day, minute by minute, second by second sometimes to actually get to where I'm at, dude.
Amazing. Okay, so you got a GD, GDE, you got a job, you got a car that brings freedom and potential. Walk me through that point to perhaps where you hit maybe rock bottom.
Oh, okay. So at that point, I was 16 still. Flash forward a little bit, I was doing all right. I was pretty good. I had hit 2 years clean at that point. And was working at a call center and met a couple people that weren't the best people for me to be at that point in my life. Not saying that they're not good people, because they are great people still to this day. I'm not going to mention names, but
at the time period,
it wasn't who I needed to be around. You know what I mean? And our goals in life were a little bit different. But I took a liking to these people, and I went and we ended up rooming together. And my bad choices and my bad habits from the past came back to bite me in the butt, right? Started selling cocaine around Utah, started doing a whole bunch of illegal crap around Utah again. And then I kind of like was fed up. I was about to lose my apartment that we were living in. My car was taking a dump on me. I'd lost my job. And I decided to go back home to Arizona because I was born and raised in Arizona. And that was the worst choice because that is right when fentanyl got introduced to America, like as far as a street drug.
Man, this is one of the things I love about doing podcasts and working with individuals, just because like everybody has a story.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I worked in news for 2 years, and even then, fentanyl was on the rise of like being laced with cocaine.
Yeah.
And fentanyl overdoses were huge. Narcan, right?
Narcan
was hard to get a hold of.
Narcan was extremely hard to get a hold of at that point in time, and it's crazy. I don't. You know who Mac Miller is, right?
No, I don't.
You don't. So he's a rap artist, but he's super big. He actually died from fentanyl overdose laced in his cocaine. And I had been doing fentanyl at the point that he died for over 1.5 years, dude. And then it was around the time that celebrities started getting the fentanyl in their drugs that the Narcan actually came out, right? Luckily, I was actually able to revive a couple people. There's a couple different tricks that you can do to resuscitate somebody who's overdosing on fentanyl. The sternum rub is a trick that you can do. You put a lot of pressure on their sternum and you do a clockwise rub. And then that can sometimes help bring them back if they've overdosed. Crazy life, dude. Crazy life. There's a bunch of stuff that sometimes I'm not happy that I have the knowledge for, but luckily I had the knowledge right then and there to be able to save some lives.
So with the fact that you got introduced to fentanyl, you were addicted. What was prep? Did you have a defining moment that ended up causing you to, I don't know, either start to get introduced to detox, or were you arrested? Like what exactly happened?
So I got arrested in 2019. I was super suicidal at the time, and I was high. My ex-girlfriend had called the cops on me because I was threatening to take my life with a gun, right? Cops show up. I book it. They search me. Once they catch me, they take the 45 that I had, and they take the 12 fentanyl pills that I had, and they put me in solitary confinement. After I was put in solitary confinement, I had to see a psychologist because of the suicidal ideation. And they asked me a bunch of questions. They were like, we're going to put you in a psychiatric hospital. You need some mental help. I was diagnosed with bipolar disorder, extreme depression, and anxiety, and also insomnia, right? I was also on crystal meth, though, so I don't know how many of those diagnoses were accurate. But at that point in time, that's what they diagnosed me with, and they put me in a psychiatric hospital to get help. I was in the psychiatric hospital for quite a bit. I want to say it was about 2-3 months, dude. I could be over-exaggerating that, but that's at least what it felt like. I know it was at least 30 days.
Yeah.
And I had a roommate who was a little old man, dude, and he would wake up he was schizophrenic. He would wake up in the middle of the night talking about how Jesus was taking advantage of him in different words, you know? And he would just start screaming it in the middle of the night. So that really was not fun. But at that point in time, I was still in my addiction. I did want to still use. And so I got out of the psychiatric hospital after playing the game, after saying the words that they wanted to hear, got back out on the street, went right back to it. And then I was really homeless. Like, I was really homeless at that point in time. I had a car, but that was it. And then all of my friends started using me for the car and taking advantage of me, taking my things out of my car, you know, while I'm nodded off. They're taking my stuff. And then finally my car took a crap on me, so I was literally just walking the streets of Phoenix at that point in time. And the night that I decided that I wanted to get clean, I had gotten kicked out of my dealer's house, which is embarrassing for a fiend to get kicked out of their dealer's house when they had money. You know what I mean?
That's
pretty bad, you know? Like, yeah. But I was walking the streets of, I was on Bell Road, walking from 59th Ave all the way to 51st Ave. My grandma lives in that area. And I was walking to my grandma's house, but I was withdrawing like crazy. And I had ended up puking on myself that night. I had ended up soiling my pants that night. And I slept behind a not a load-bearing wall, but like a retaining wall. And this was in December in Arizona, so it gets super cold during the night.
Yeah.
And all I had was my jacket and my pants. I didn't even have a shirt, didn't even have socks on. I had shoes, but that was it. And I woke up the next morning, and I walked to my grandma's house, and I was like, Grandma, I need to get right. Like, I need to take a shower. I need help, you know. And my dad at that point in time was doing pretty good himself, so he encouraged me to check myself into detox. It was rough admitting that I needed to go to detox. It was scary. It was life-changing. I knew I was going to be in pain.
You knew it was going to be rough. Had you at any other point encountered anyone that had been through detox?
Yeah. So going through and being an addict, especially with fentanyl, it being so addictive and stuff like that, there were plenty of friends and stuff that I had that were smoking the blues just like I was, but they would go and get put on a treatment plan for methadone or something, and then they would fall right back in it, you know. And so I had seen a bunch of buddies go through detox and not really take it seriously. And honestly, with methadone and stuff like that, it's just a treatment plan. It's still a way for the government to get money off you, and it's not really helping the addiction. It's just swapping it for something else. So when I did check myself into detox, I refused any any medicine to help with the detox itself, like any of the calm downs, any of that. I took vitamins, and I took trazodone to help me sleep, and that was it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean,
crazy, dude. It took me, I'm not going to lie, after I had checked myself into detox, I would start drooling randomly. I wasn't able to keep, like, the saliva overload was ridiculous. I was super lethargic, so even just standing up and going and opening the door or going and getting a cup of coffee was extremely taxing on my body. Eating was almost non-existent the first month that I was clean. But afterwards, I ate so much, dude. I went from, so I was 110 pounds when I checked myself in a detox.
Whoa.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. To give you an idea, I'm sitting at 175 right now.
Yeah.
Right? And dude, 110 is when I checked myself in. And I was like slow. I was slow. I wasn't able to have a conversation. I wasn't able to talk. I wasn't even able to keep the drool in my mouth. I wasn't able to sleep. I wasn't able to eat. And it was rough, dude. It wasn't until, so I checked myself into detox December of 2020. Then I want to say it was December 30th of 2020. Yep, December 30th of 2020. Got released by February, was living with my dad in Havasu for a little bit. Still super lethargic, still, had a bunch of issues with my brain and my ability to talk and stuff like that. It was really difficult for me at that point.
Okay, so, I mean, you'd made a good, so you knew what life was, like normal life was.
Not at that point anymore. Like, I had forgotten, because you got to remember, I started my drug use at 14.
Yeah.
At this point, I'm 21, 22.
It's a long time.
That's a long time, dude. 7 years.
So did you, mentally with that struggle, if you, how were you still trying to push through that time period?
I just had a lot of encouragement. I had a lot of friends and a lot of family. After I was there in Havasu in February, I'd moved out here in March, or the end of February. Me and my dad had some issues that popped up, so I was like, let me just go back home. And I mean home as in with my aunt, my uncle. They've had my best interest at heart. They've shown me, they've helped me. They've not ever judged me. And they're just like, Ryan, dude, you're better than this. Stop being a dumbass, So I was like, you're right. But my uncle called me. He was like, dude, just come home. I was like, I needed to hear that.
Yeah.
Because at that point, I don't think I'd ever heard that. Like, come home, And so when I got here, I started working at GRIP6, still super hard to talk, hard to do anything. But everybody here and all the people in my life kept motivating me to just find out what that next step was. Not even to do the next step, but just see what it was.
Okay. So I'm glad that we're here at GRIP6.
Yeah.
Because I think this is where I want to talk a little bit more. We're going to get into socks and some more fun stuff. But thank you so much for sharing some
of course, man.
Your journey. I know that you said this to me, you're an open book, but it's not easy. Having this these conversations, really, like thinking back at this time period. I mean, just I've dealt with people who when I was in news that dealt with stuff, but seeing you reminds me that it's not an easy journey, but that it is doable, and
it's
that and there are people,
doable.
there are tons of people out there that do it on a regular basis, no matter what the time frame looks like.
Yep. And that's one thing too, is like realistically, one thing that I had to really get through my head is recovery itself is on your timeline, and you have to do it for yourself, right? So like when you look and see like, oh, this person's got this much time clean, that's an encouragement, and it shouldn't ever be something that's like, oh, dude, like I hope I get there. No, you can get there. You'll get there. You just got to put one foot in front of the other, man. That's really all it boils down to.
Fantastic. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the fact that like you are still struggling when you are introduced and you come to GRIP6. So
very much so.
How did you learn about GRIP6?
Funny enough, my uncle was the electrician that GRIP6 had contracted. Him, my uncle Mike, and BJ and Winslow and Dave all went to high school back and grade school even back in Glendale together. So they reached out to him to do some electrical work, and he's like, hey, my nephew's here, like, he needs a job. He's a little off right now. He's going through some things, but he's a good worker, and once he gets right, he'll be worth it, right? They took a chance.
Yeah.
They took a fat chance, dude.
What? Okay. You've talked to me a little bit about this, but like your hiring process and like having to like discuss that with
right
owner.
away. Yeah. So when I got hired, Winslow did my interview. There was no actual like job related questions at all. It was all who I was, what my past was about, what my ambitions were, and just what I wanted to do there at GRIP6, right? So I was honest with them, like 100% open book, like I am. You know, I was like, there's no reason for me to hide who I was. It's a part of me, and if you want to go look up the documents, you can see my charges. Like, so it's not a secret. So I was like, might as well be honest. And being honest and like having these talks with people makes it easier the more you do it. So, but at that point, it was still very new. I was nervous wreck. I remember my uncle had told me the night before that we were going to go be at GRIP6 at 7:30, 8 o'clock when we wanted to get there. I'd woken up at 5 a.m., dude, drank 2.5 pots of coffee because I was so nervous that I was going to blow it or not do something right. I wanted to be able to have a conversation. I wanted the energy to not be super lethargic while I'm sitting there trying to talk to Winslow. And he's asking me all these questions, and my knees just sitting there vibrating because I had drinking so much coffee. He goes, you good, man? You good? You sure you're not on anything right now? And I'm like, dude, I promise. I had 2.5 pots of coffee. I won't do it again before coming to work. He's like, all right, man, we'll give you a chance.
What was that after having a time period, a long time period of being homeless, of being basically of living dependent not only on a substance but on other individuals, to have someone, not only like your uncle, but have another individual who trusted in your uncle or whatever to say, okay, show up to work, let's see how you do.
That was key. That was key to my success. I'm not going to lie. Like, had I not had those people take that chance on me and trust in me and trust in my family and my family trust in me still after I had burnt all those bridges, and to give me that other shot, that's really honestly what I think helped me just take off.
Yeah, and you've taken off. So I'm excited to get to this. During this time period, you kind of worked through, like you mentioned, you worked through a couple of things. Mm-hmm. For your journey at GRIP6, how did you ending up at, did you like get pulled to Sox? Did you have the desire to want to go to Sox?
No. So I actually I did my test day. My test day was doing putting wallets together for, I think it was 4 or 5 hours, just sitting there with those little screws. And
you were here
yeah,
doing the screws?
Yeah.
Did you? Okay, I'll show.
That was so bad. So bad. Like, not a good time. I was losing my mind, but it was a job. And I needed a job. Winslow asked me with a smirk on his face. He's like, so how was that? I was like, it's good. Like, he's like, you think you could do that for 8 hours a day? I was like, yeah, like if I needed to. He's like, we're not going to have you do that. He's like, we'll have you tumble buckles. So I was on night crew tumbling buckles. There was only 3 of us on night crew. And the manager was part-time, which was a little weird, but manager was part-time. Me and the other guy were both full-time. I'm a smoker. I'm trying to quit. I've been using the Zyn pouches lately, so that's why I'm not, off smoking as much as I used to. But
good for you.
Thank you, dude.
Bro. It's
little by little.
Listen, I grew up with my dad. He smoked, and he's had a couple of health issues, and so, and it's a hard thing to do. Mm-hmm. But yet again, good on you for doing that.
Thank you.
You got this.
Yeah, we do.
I'm sure it's harder.
It is harder than the hard drugs because it's publicly acceptable, and I can buy them anywhere.
Okay. So
that's the biggest thing, dude. That's the biggest thing. Like, it's very difficult to go into a store and know that I can just buy a pack of smokes and have one, and then that tenseness that I'm feeling, that anxiety, it like would just go away. You know what I mean? But it does take a lot of self-dedication, determination to be able to be like, nah, I'm just not gonna do that.
Well, you can hit me up, man, if you need any. We'll go get freaking hot Cheetos.
Heck yeah, dude. Heck yeah, I love some hot Cheetos. Let's do it.
So so you start tumbling and
the manager was part-time. I talked to the manager. I was like, hey, I smoke cigarettes. Like, do you mind if I take my 15-minute breaks and split them in two, go out, have a quick cigarette, and come back in? He's like, yeah, that's totally fine. Did not communicate that to the other night crew person, though. So on the nights that the manager wasn't there, this guy was watching me like a hawk and reported to Wenzel. He's like, hey, this guy's leaving all the time, dude. Wenzel pulls me in his office. He's like, hey, man, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm just smoking my cigarettes, bro. Like, I was told that I can. This is what I've been doing. He's like, all right, well, I think night crew's not working out. We'll probably just put you on day crew. Does that work? And I'm like, yeah, that's totally fine. He's like, we're going to put you in stocks under Cassidy. And I'm like, okay, cool. Didn't know who Cassidy was. Had never met him. And I get put on his team. Next week when I come into work, I meet Cassidy for the first time. But as me and Winslow are walking up to him, he's like, just so you know, he used to be a corrections officer too. Like, oh no. So that's how I started in stocks.
with your correction officer.
With my correction officer.
No, but okay, so you're now in stocks. This is a different journey.
This is only maybe a month or two after I've been hired at GRIP6. So 4 or 5 months out of detox, too, right? Got put on the boarding on the finishing side of socks. And that was a good time back then, dude. There's been a lot of improvements made in that process since I started.
It was a journey, huh?
It was a journey, man. So when we started, all of our socks we had half the size of the production and area that we have right now. We were running 10 machines for only, I want to say maybe 10 hours a day. That was it. So quite literally half the production of right now. And they would just take every single sock from all the machines and dump them in a bin all together.
Oh, dang.
Yeah, dude. So I would grab as many socks as I could in that small washer, which was all the way across the machines from the dryer, too.
Okay, so let me put some context. So actually, I guess you could put the context. Give us a breakdown, like, just give us a quick overview of the pipeline of socks.
Okay, so essentially how the whole process goes is they come off the knitting machines where we utilize 4 programs for one sock, small, medium, large, and extra large, right? So one machine could be running one color of sock, extra large. Second machine right next to it could be running small of that same sock, just a different size, theoretically. And we, at that point, had the Overland Orange, the Overland Blue, the Approach Pacific, the XT, and the Fastback and the Fastback Zion. Those are some old school
now, if
socks.
You guys, you can sometimes find them. Probably not anymore. I think this last we have a second sale. If you join our email list, you can join them by clicking the link down below. But you can get access to the second sale where we sell our like not up to standards visually sock.
Functionality is perfect. It's quite literally my rule of thumb is if anything is over a quarter of an inch, so it could be one small line on the bottom of your sock that's over a quarter of an inch, that's going to be a second.
Right. And
that's my rule.
Yeah, which is, I mean, it's great. So many of you might have got to know GRIP6 from that sale. In any case, but I'm pretty sure that we sold our last Fastback
and Fastback Zions. Yep.
Old school ones.
Yep. Those were some old school socks. So those are the only socks that we had at that time. I was in charge of going and emptying the bins from the machines at that point in time, putting them all in this bin, and then we have a small washer that can fit 15 pounds of socks. It's a lot of socks, right?
Yeah. So I was actually surprised how much like you guys pack in that. This thing, it's like, picture sardine. It's just a pack.
Oh yeah.
Like to the almost breaking point of the
100%. And it used to be worse too. We used to shove more in there than that. Like every little last sock we could fit in that washing machine went in. There was no room. So then we'd take it from the washer, and at this point, we were in the old building, so the layout was a little bit different. I had to go from the washer all the way past all the knitting machines to the dryer, right? Dry it for 40 minutes, but I had to put it on an hour dry cycle, and then go take them out at 40, because if you let it go the whole way, that last 20 minutes of the cycle would be a cool down cycle, so it wouldn't dry properly. We were just using a Samsung home dryer. So then I would get them out of the dryer, and we go back all the way over pretty much to the washer to go to the boarding machine. I would sit there and sort all of the socks by color and size. So I'd have 4 piles for every single sock style we had. And then I would board them all. And at that point in time, we were boarding every other form. So it was large and then medium. And then I would switch to small on the mediums if I needed to. And I got pretty good at that. And then after we were boarding, we would check the socks, snip any loose ends or whatever from the yarns getting cut off and stuff like that, make them look visually appealing, package them. And at that point in time, our packaging had 2 stickers that went on each sleeve.
Oh, dang.
We
2
had
stickers?
We had an ankle or a crew, and they were like that long and like that skinny, right? Super, super thin, tiny, clear stickers.
Clear
Stickers that just went on this one little area of the stupid sleeve. Anyways, I wasn't happy about it. That took most of my day, was just stickering those stupid sleeves. And then after that, we'd count them on a piece of paper, and then those would go into some boxes, just boxes with a sheet that you would add your total to. And that's what the process was. And then it was horrible back then. It was horrible. It took so long.
We have to start somewhere, man. Like,
True. You got to start somewhere, and you can only do what you know how to do, and then build upon it, right, as you find the issues.
For the record, we've done a ton of improvements.
So much. Like even just in the boarding process of having the washer and dryer next to each other and using like actual like nice washer and dryers that can do big loads has cut down so much time.
Yeah, shout out to Garrett, who's one of our engineers, who's done
sir.
Over the last several months specifically doing so much work in helping that process make it even more efficient. Because, check out our episode on socks with Kevin, but the sock process is, especially when it comes to the finishing, is one of some of the most important parts.
Yes.
So can you talk to a little bit about why it's important for that sock finishing portion?
Well, so if we don't finish it right, then we could be sending you guys the wrong socks. We could be sending you socks that have holes in them. We could be sending you socks that are missing materials, So on that finishing side of socks, it's super, super critical to have somebody who's got a keen eye for detail and can work fast pace. We often like to sell as much as we can of our units, and sometimes we'll even go over on what we have in stock, allow orders to come in, and to be able to keep up with the production and then get it through to order fulfillment or wholesale is super critical. And like if we're not checking the socks on that finishing side as well as we do, we could have socks that would be way too tight, right? So we go through on the prior to the finishing side. Each time we start a sock on a machine, we go through and take at least 7 measurements on it, at least 7 measurements on that one sock. Go through, make sure the machine's running right. But we are all human, you know what I mean? Yeah. Sometimes people goes on break, or there's miscommunication. Somebody thinks something's sized. Things can get through, and that's why the finishing side is the most critical, in my opinion.
Yeah. It also has the fact that like it locks in the form of the specific socks.
Yeah. So the way that we finish them, we have a foot form. It's a metal foot form, and it goes through this. It's essentially like iron. They come out. Okay. They come out the dryer slightly damp, just enough to be able to go through and have that iron compress over the form, and it gives it a really nice crisp line straight down the middle of the sock, down the center of the sock. That way we can fold them, make them look super nice and presentable. And also too, like I'm sure you've seen, like when you take your socks out of the dryer, sometimes they look like tiny.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's not because the sock's not going to stretch, and it's not because it's not the right size. It literally is. Wool shrinks so much.
Sorry, let's have you say, or say. I want you to say. It's because literally the way we build our socks, the wool
Conforms to your foot.
Rebounds. Say rebound.
Rebound.
If you say shrink, we've been trying to battle the fact that like our socks shrink. It's not shrink. It's like it rebounds to the like it's
it goes to the form that it should be.
Yeah.
It conforms.
Yeah.
Conforms to your foot.
So let's start with that's why when having the plates or having those forms helps to solidify the form, and that's why when you wash your socks, they rebound to the side, and they feel like it's smaller, but really it's just because the wool capability
it can rebound, so it's the elasticity of it.
Yeah.
Not the elasticity. That's the elastic.
I know, man. Yeah. So I would go with the fact that touch on the fact that it's like because of our blend and wool being so durable that when you do wash it, it does rebound to it's like the initial
original size. Yeah. Okay. That's but yeah, no. So with the forms, it kind of it mimics a foot, right? And it irons the sock on to the form, and it essentially shows what it's going to look like when your foot's in the sock. When you take them home and wash them and dry them, it'll rebound to essentially its proper size, which is prior to on your foot. It is going to be a little bit, it looks smaller, but that's because we make sure that it conforms to your foot in all the right ways.
Right.
Like I said, I take 7 measurements on each sock. That's to make sure that every single point in the sock, like the arch support, is going to be tight and give you support. Foot 1 and foot 2 aren't going to be too tight, which you guys probably don't know what that means, but that's the portion of your foot above the arch support and then below the arch support. But we're going to make sure that those aren't too tight to where it's causing either loss of circulation, itchiness, it's comfortable, it has breathability, it's soft. Like, so we go through and take all these measurements to make sure that it's going to be the size that it needs to be for you.
Awesome. Okay, well, I'm glad we kind of went down that. Let's. So you mentioned a little bit earlier in the podcast that Cassidy being someone who like gave you the opportunity and the chance to like improve and like get involved more heavily in socks.
Very much.
Walk me through like what was that initial journey and getting to like actually work on something that you felt. Because I mean, look, boarding is a process and it's a job.
Exactly.
I just want to tell every person that boards in our company. I've had to board. I know what it's like. It is not necessarily the most fun.
No.
But honestly, I like it. It's kind of therapeutic.
It's fun. It's therapeutic if you can throw on some headphones and just zone in and do your thing,
Right.
Like,
if you just need something like to just, do the thing and you just need to go through the process, it's great.
Yeah.
But it's a chore.
It's a chore. It's the cleaning your room of GRIP6 jobs for
so,
sure.
But shout out to everybody who's been on boarding. You guys are amazing.
Yes.
We really
appreciate it. Appreciate it for sure.
In any case, so walk me through a little bit of that, like that initial journey of like getting introduced into the slot machines, learning and seeing Cassidy's journey, just and how that influenced how you saw yourself in the future of GRIP6.
Sweet. Okay, so when I first started in the knitting machine, so becoming a technician and somewhat of a mechanic at that point, we had just ordered 10 more machines from Lenati, so we were scaling our company. We were in the process of moving from the old building over to here, and initially it started when Bruce Reed, our contact out in North Carolina that has been like my essentially like glossary of information, you know what I mean, or whatever.
Okay, so again, check out the episode with Kevin. I think that's episode 4. But we talk about the fact that we use Lenati sock machines. These things are the Ferrari of
100% the Ferrari of knitting machines.
Yeah,
dude,
these things are
the Bugatti.
These are expertly designed machines. They have tons of parts, and there's only like 3 people that really like know stuff, right?
Correct. Yeah. From what I understand, and I might be wrong, so if I am, somebody tell me. But from what I understand, me and Cassidy are actually like maybe potentially the only 2 people on the West Coast that know how to do it. Again, don't quote me on that, But from what I understand, I don't know of any other sock mills that are on the west side of the U.S. So
pretty impressive. I
Yeah.
think pretty impressive that you guys have done this thing. So and we know that Cassie went and did training.
Yeah.
So again, this is a sock episode, but yeah. So continue with the story.
Yeah, so Cassidy, at that point in time when we got those new machines, had developed and programmed the boot sock that we have, the Coyote boot and the black boot sock that we have. And we had our 2 technicians over in the old building still. We still had the 10 machines over there, but we needed somebody over in the new building. And while Bruce was here helping put together all the things, all the new machines, I was fortunate enough to be able to catch up on my boarding responsibilities and stuff like that. I was actually ahead of the game plan at that point. And I was able to come over to this new building and spend some time with Bruce and Cassidy in putting together these machines to even get them started, right? So that's putting the motors together, putting what we call the krill together, which is the racking that holds all the yarns. And it was super simple stuff at first. So it was like just doing the toe seam and then making sure that I got all of the toe seamers threaded up properly. And even just putting the tubes where the threads go through, you know what I mean? So it was super small things at first. And I started getting it, And Cassidy was working on these boot socks, and he was going through his trials and his errors on the research and development in the boot sock. And I was kind of his right-hand man that entire time through that entire process. He would go make a change. I'd be out there working on the machines, getting it to where it needed to be. And I'd take him the new sock that, he just designed and I'd show him, and he would go through and actually take the time to explain why things were happening in the sock with me. And that, honestly, I think is what helped me grow the most. I definitely feel like I have the capability of, like, once I see the process, either I can reverse engineer it and figure it out, or if you show me this step and, like, you can explain to me why this is happening, I can figure out the root cause of it. You know what I mean? Like, or if there's, like, a problem and you're like, okay, I think this is what I can generally do, like, with almost anything. Like, not necessarily even just socks. I feel like I'm pretty good at getting to the root cause of things and finding alternative ways to address that issue, you know what I mean, if it's an issue. But there was just, like, a lot of communication, a lot of back and forth over here, especially in the first early stages of us being in this building, because this was even before the floor was done, dude. Like, Damn. This is before the floor was done in this building. I helped on the floor in this building. I actually installed most of the drop-down outlets in this building. I've done a lot of electrical work in this building too. But anyways, back to me getting started with Cass and the influence that he had on me. He really was, like, he was constantly, like, letting me know. He's like, hey man, like, I see you're putting in work, dude. Like, I can see the effort. I appreciate it, And that appreciation, I think, is what helped me go that extra mile every day,
Yeah. Which, I mean, it's not that this doesn't happen in other companies, but I think that because we're a small company, we're, like, what everyone does is felt on a regular basis. I think that like, those small little appreciations really does help make you feel.
100%. Yeah, definitely. And even it could be something as simple as, like, hey, like, let's go get lunch together or something. I remember there was a couple different times, dude, that Cassidy took me out to lunch just one-on-one, and we had conversations about how he would check in on me frequently, just see how life was going, see how I was doing on the machines at that point in time, because he had shown me a little bit more, of just, like, the simpler things, so I was able to be classified technically as a technician at that point. And I was running all our boot socks over in this new building by myself for 8 hours a day.
Dang.
So 10 machines by myself is what I started with once I got on the machines. It was fun. It was a good time.
Okay. I want to kind of take a quick step before we get into some of the nitty-gritty stuff, which is where I want to go. But with this, the more responsibility and the fact that, like, you're getting more challenges, did you feel that the fact that you were given more responsibility and more challenges and things you had to do, that it began? How did that affect your recovery process?
Honestly, it affirmed that I was doing the right thing. It let me know that I was headed in the right direction. I didn't know necessarily where the end goal is. I still don't necessarily know where my end goal is, dude. I'm only 25.
Dude, does anybody know?
Nobody, dude. Nobody does. But I didn't even have a sense of direction at that point in time. But all I knew is I was getting some positive feedback from people that I looked up to and I respected. And I wanted to keep going in that route because it was obviously working, right? I had done so much stuff that did not work in the past. I'd finally found something that was working, found good people around me all the time. I befriended quite a few of the people here at GRIP6, and we started hanging out outside of work, so that also helped. But ultimately, like it helped my recovery so much just take off.
I mean, since I've been here since last November, and I've seen a lot of stuff that we've gone through and a lot of work, and particularly your, like, I feel like this new phase of your career, and it's been really exciting. Partly because, well, you have an actual sock.
Yeah,
actually. You have an official sock
I have an official sock that I designed, programmed, and put to fruition. Yeah, it got past the board of the owners as far as whether or not they're going to approve it, which is always a task from time to time. 4 different people's opinions.
Yeah, but you did it. So
I did it.
Let's, before we get into the nitty-gritty of this, because it's gonna, and this episode's probably gonna go a little bit longer. I just think there's a lot of great stuff here.
Yeah.
So, let's talk to me. You because Cassidy did the foundation, between Cassidy and Kevin, they created the foundation of a lot of our socks.
Yes.
You'd been running this. You'd been troubleshooting. You learned a lot of the through and through. You became these machines are probably your mistress.
Yep. Yep. We talk dirty to each other all the time, especially me and number 14. Dude. Shout out number 14.
It's been, it's been a journey. So and not only that, but you have some other technicians with you that done a lot of stuff, and a lot of the colorways that we've done has been you guys trying to come up with something new, right?
So I actually put a lot of the colorway ideas on Shelby. Shelby is pretty much one of the main person that I go to with colorways. She's super creative and super artsy, and she does all sorts of artistic things outside of work. And when I was putting together our new Tech Light Crew socks, I was thinking about just color combinations and stuff like that. I had to go to her. I brought things to Kevin. I know I brought things to you and Brendan. And just so many times over and over and over, like, does this look good? I think it does. But when you're looking at the same thing over and over, dude, you got to go get some fresh eyes.
Yeah. So when I first got here, I only heard about R&D, right? And so, I think, and I'm sure this is exactly what happened when Cassidy and the owners were going through this stuff and trying to figure a lot of this stuff out before you even got involved.
Yeah. Luckily they did lay a really nice foundation for me to start when I got into programming. I'm not going to lie. I don't think I'd be as far along as I am had they not been able to lay such a solid foundation. So
yeah, that's
been helpful.
So we've done colorways, and talk to me a little the difference between a colorway in a brand new sock.
Okay, so a brand new sock essentially is going to have different features on it. It could be a different size. We could be, going all the way up to your knee. You could be way below your ankle. And that's going to classify it as a completely different sock, right? Is the structural composition of the sock, right? How much wool's going in, where the wool's going in, the design, the pattern of it all. You know what I mean? What you can see essentially is what's going to make a new sock. Colorways themselves, I can take the exact same program that I built for, let's say, this sock, and then just put in
for examples, this is
so this is one of them. This is actually slightly in between a new sock and a color change. Funny enough, this sock essentially is it's the same program as our Approach XT and our Approach Pacific socks, right? But I did make some alterations.
For the record, that's our ankle socks.
Yep.
Those are the black and then the gray, the two gray options. Or sorry, the gray and
the teal or turquoise or aquamarine color, whatever the heck, with the green, the gray, and then the charcoal and the heel and toe, and then the black. So this is close. This is the same program as that gray and that green sock, the green ankle sock, right? Except for right here is called the welt, or that area right there of the sock. And I actually shrunk that a little bit on this sock. I had to take some,
Right.
they're called economizers, out of the welt. And the economizers are essentially just rows of stitches. So I had to alter this program to be able to get this exact sock in comparison to our normal traditional ankle socks. But this is also a color change because that was the only change to the program that I had to make. The rest of this was just me putting a different color in the same finger that was already being used. And that's how we came up with these ones. And then we also had the purple ones. What were they called? The huckleberries. You know?
Shout out to those everyone who got the huckleberries. I thought they were pretty great, and they actually did better than what
They did way better than I anticipated. I'm not gonna lie. I thought this one was gonna be the best.
Yeah.
And the huckleberry blew it out of the water.
It kind of did. Yeah, I think so. I don't remember the full numbers, but they did. It was a surprising amount.
Yeah, definitely a surprising amount,
Yeah.
especially for such a poppy purple. You know.
Which we haven't really done. We haven't done.
Yeah.
I think we've done a couple of purples, but they haven't been as well received as some other sock colorways.
Yeah.
So it was pretty fun to see these switchbacks. I'm not gonna lie. I've enjoyed the switchbacks. I'm a real big ankle sock fan. I've said this multiple times, but but my wife and a lot of other employees said that they loved the
lower ankle.
the lower ankle, and part of it's just because like it feels more of like others, the profile makes it better for people who are like wearing specific type of shoes, like skate shoes,
or skating shoes, running shoes, or whatever.
Whatever. Yeah. So now, with that being said, this kind of was like a gateway, right? You had a little bit of a gateway with like, okay, you got some foundation. You and I believe Garrett, right?
Yep.
Got some additional training from Cassidy on like understanding how to
actually program. And so when you program, I'm actually telling the sock knitting machines in X amount of steps. Usually it's over 100 steps, but I'm telling it to drop fingers in and which finger out of a bunch of different ones.
You say fingers.
Yarn fingers. So the machine has a main feed that has 8 yarn fingers that can drop in at whenever you want them to, right? And then there's 6 color feeds, 5 or 6 color feeds, and each one of those has 3 fingers too, right? So these yarn fingers can all drop in. It allows you to be able to do some really complex designs on your sock. You can add yarns. Different yarns will also make the sock look different, feel different. We use nylon, elastic, our plating yarn, which is like a lycra, and then we use primarily our wool. And so when I first got that little bit of training with Cassidy, he was pretty much just going over like, hey, this icon right here is going to be one of these functions, right? This icon right here is going to be one of these functions, right? So I was able to go through and I took some notes and I was able to document all the information that he was giving me and put it to utilization like that day.
Yeah, you like when I say that, and I wasn't here when the initial some socks, and I know they went through tons of iteration, but that's through learning process and again, listen to that sock episode with Kevin. But one of the big things that I think was like just the repetition of trying to figure this stuff out and like test things. You brought in, I would easily say, over a baker's dozen of designs to us to like, hey guys, what do you guys think about this?
Yep. Every day for solid 2 weeks.
Yeah,
probably.
I would say,
2 weeks, and then once we got somewhere where it was like, all right, that's good. We need to adjust it a little bit more. So then I was like, all right, now let's go through these finer detailed things. And that was...
So I had a question because I've been thinking about this and I was like, okay, was that discouraging for you?
No, not at all, dude. It was... I love knowledge and I love improvements because over my recovery, the one thing that I have learned, or the 2 things that I have learned for sure, set in stone, no ifs, ands, or buts, are knowledge is the only thing that nobody can take from you. So I love to gain any and all knowledge.
My abuela would always say that you can only take the knowledge you learn and the food you eat.
Yep, exactly. And then also too is I truly feel like there's nothing that I can't do, right? So when I'm bringing you guys, Kevin, Brennan, whoever, this sock, and I'm like, how can I make? What do you guys think, right? You guys are giving me the feedback. I am taking that, and I'm like, all right, we can make this even better now. You know what I mean? And even with our Tech Light crew socks that we just dropped, dude, I'm excited to build upon that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I love them. They feel super great. I honestly can't tell that I'm wearing socks right now. But I'm still excited to improve upon that. You know what I mean? There's always an improvement that can be made. There's always something that we can do to get to that next level. And I know that we can accomplish it. So I'm just stoked. I never found it discouraging.
So I'm gonna look up a word, but I want you to walk me through. So let's bring this Tech Light out.
Okay.
The Tech Light. This is our new Tech Light crew sock. Walk me through what is a Tech Light, and why this is kind of like an important sock, not only for the company and for yourself, but like just overall
for the wool community. I'd say this is actually a pretty cool sock. So our Tech Lights are made to be super lightweight. We have padding only in the heel and the toe areas, right? And there is quite a bit of dropout patterns throughout the foot and the leg.
So what is a dropout pattern?
A dropout pattern is where I intentionally make the needle skip the wool yarn so that it's using the Lycra or the plating yarn only in that area. And what that does is it removes some of that wool, which removes some of the heat and allows a lot of breathability.
Why put more breathability in a sock, even though wool is still great for summer?
Mm-hmm. Wool is great for summer. I personally was a little bit selfish when making these. My feet get super hot, like any sock. I can't wear cotton socks because my feet would be. I could take off the sock and fill you a cup up. It'd be gross.
Never do that.
I will never do that. I promise, Danny. I will never do that. But no. So this was kind of a selfish design. I'm not gonna lie. My feet get super hot, and so I was like, I need something that I'm gonna be able to wear out disc golfing this summer. You know, GRIP6 sponsors me in disc golf. I need to be wearing our socks out playing in tournaments, but I don't like my feet getting super hot. And when you're playing 2-3 rounds in a day, your feet can get hot.
Right.
And
even what socks were you wearing prior?
So our sock, the main sock that I would wear prior to was either our no-shows or our everyday crew black socks. Those were my go-tos. They matched with every outfit that I wear. I am kind of vain in that way. I'm not gonna lie. I do like to match my outfit to my socks. I make the socks. I should be able to do that. You know.
I also like to match my clothing too.
You got to, bro. It just makes you look complete. It's like that extra little bit of attention just makes that much of a difference. Even if nobody else notices, I notice.
You notice, right?
I notice. That's what matters. But no, so this was a selfish sock, man. I put the dropout patterns in there so that I could have some more breathability. And I brought it to you guys. I brought it to the owners, and I was like, guys, this actually kind of goes along with the Tech Light brand that we're trying to drop. You know, like the whole concept of it being super lightweight. It's wool for summer. You know what I mean? Wool for the heat. It's not going to make your foot sweat. Even if it did, it's moisture wicking. You know what I mean? Yeah, so it's super, super breathable. That was my big thing.
Yeah, that was the thing that I think I looked. So I also run pretty extra
warm, yeah.
But because I wear ankle socks, I don't feel like I don't get that much of an issue because it's even though like because of the way that wool helps to regulate temperature, I'm not feeling it as much. But I do think that if I was out doing in the middle, like July, we'll find out in July because that's kind of where probably the biggest test for me is going to be. But because our no-shows have no additional terry or padding,
correct,
and then and because the ankles, you have your additional, they're just lower. You're not feeling as much. But if you have boots on that aren't breathable shoes, I often wear more breathable shoes than so that's kind of where like I don't care about having padding. I actually prefer padding, but If I'm going to go out hiking or I'm going to do something outdoors in that vein, I'm going to have shoes that aren't going to be as breathable.
Yep.
And so having a sock like this where they're only...
The heat can escape.
Yeah. So where you only have... Because the padding's only really on the heel and the toe,
then in the toe, yeah.
Now, so again, huge shout out. I kind of want to talk to you about... after you... I mean, how many iterations...
Oh, man.
do you think you went through?
So bigger iterations of this sock, probably 7 or 8, of like actually like drastically different socks, right? But the fine tuning that I was talking about when it came to this sock, dude, I was taking it stitch by stitch at one point up here to get this curve looking just right, literally needle by needle, stitch by stitch, making sure that I'm either adding here, removing there to get everything to look the way that it should. It's crazy how much research I had to do into feet and how they're shaped, shoes, how they're shaped, how they're designed. Just to have that background knowledge so that I can make something that's going to be aesthetically pleasing, and still be super functional.
Well, how was working? Because you worked with Kevin before, but like, how was it working with him in this sort of vein?
I enjoyed it. Kevin was Kevin's very knowledgeable, has a lot of design knowledge, and he's was super willing to just pass some of that information to me. You know what I mean? He went through and took the time to be like, all right, this is why this doesn't look good. You know what I mean? He was able to explain the science and the psychology behind why something looked good or did not look good to the design aspect specifically. And then when it came to the whole like actual like structure of the sock and like how it's made, where the terry is going to be and stuff like that, that one is kind of just like a more or less like going off some of the teachings that Cass taught me. You know what I mean? It was more like, hey, we need this terry right here because this is going to help not cause blisters. This is going to make sure that you're not getting friction on this part of your foot. We're going to make sure that we're not rubbing the top of your foot raw, or whatever. There's so much that goes into making a sock. It's crazy. And I never knew it until I started making socks, dude.
Okay. Congratulations, bro. I think for me, it was pretty awesome to like be a part of this sock launch.
Thank you.
Shout out to everyone who's like, truly, the green is kind of the winner for our socks. And how are you feeling about that?
I like it, dude. I was so proud of that because one of the comments that Kevin made when I started this endeavor is we didn't have a green sock. Green's one of my personal favorite colors. So I was like, we didn't have a green sock that had ever just done way better than any of the other socks. Like, we had a couple green socks here and there, just they never did great. But to have this one drop and then be the clear, defined winner out of the color variations was a win. That was a solid win.
All right. So with that being said, I kind of just want to wrap up with the, like, how did your relationship or like your understanding of the socks, the sock machines grow in this like little process?
Once I learned programming, it helped me understand the mechanical side of the machines quite a bit better. I told you back a little bit ago, 14's been my mistress, right? Machine number 14 had a drive belt break. So I had to completely take apart the machine, dude. Took all of it apart, the dial, the underneath side of it, all the, like, pretty much everything, stripped it down to its bare cylinder and oil pan, essentially, dude. It was nuts. And going through and, like, programming and like being like, okay, yeah, this is gonna go in here at this point in time because of this needs to happen, and if we don't do it at this point, this is what's gonna happen in the sock. You know what I mean? Helped me understand why I needed the things to be at the positions or at the exact degree that they were when I was putting all that whole machine back together. The machine was down for quite some time, dude. I actually just got it back up and going yesterday, thank goodness.
Yeah, dude, shout out to you.
Thank you, dude. That one was a pain in the butt, bro. That one was not fun. Would not recommend. Would not recommend.
0 out of 10 would not recommend.
-1 out of 10 would not recommend. That's worse than doing a timing belt on my car, and I've done that too. That was not fun. That was not fun. Too much to keep in track. Too many parts to keep track of for sure.
Okay, that's pretty awesome. I think maybe just last thing is like you are now the person that helps train other individuals with socks.
Yeah.
What's it been like moving into this more leadership role? When did you? So and how's that been for you personally and mentally?
Honestly, I feel like once I moved into this leadership role, I was flustered at first. You know,
okay.
I was flustered at first. I was like, this is a lot. I was in a routine. I had my routine built, and then I had to drastically change my schedule because at that point in time, I don't know if you remember, I had, 6 technicians?
Yeah.
Yeah, 6 technicians. So I had Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, 5 to 5, and then 5 to 5 again. So there's an AM and PM shift. And I was given all of these technicians at the same time. So I had to train them all. I had about 2-3 weeks of training with all of them together. And then my schedule really changed. And that was rough. That was extremely rough, I'm not going to lie, because I had to go 1 week where I was there from 8 to 4:30, right? Like a normal work day. And then some weeks I'd have to come in at 1 and then work till 9 p.m.
In the morning?
No, at night.
Oh.
At night. So 1 p.m. to 9 p.m. at night because I was only there for 8 hours. But I also wanted to have time with each shift, you know what I mean? And that was rough because it was the back and forth. And I struggled with that for a little bit at first. I'm not going to lie. It was taxing on my sleep schedule. It's taxing on my personal life.
Did you feel... perhaps not old habits, but like the
desires to come back slightly, dude. There was a couple times where I'm very much one of those people that like will have a conversation with myself, especially when I'm alone driving, right? But there was a couple times where I'm like, man, I'm really tired. Crazy enough, I know what fixes that. I'm like, no, dude, that's literally not even an option. Like I got the GRIP6 logo tattooed on me, right?
You self-tattooed that?
No, not that one. Not that one. I have this whole arm is pretty much self-tatted though.
That's because you're right-handed.
I am right-handed for now. Once I can do it with my left, I'll tap my right arm too. But I did get this tattoo. I got this tattoo like 3-4 months probably after being an employee here. But that was because the owners had made such an impact on me that I knew that they were good people to work for. I knew that they wanted the best for me. I knew that they wanted the best for the company. I knew that they wanted to just help. You know, I could feel the love. I could feel the appreciation. And I knew that this is somewhere where I wanted to be, where I wanted to work, where I wanted to grow, and who I wanted to grow around. You know what I mean? They say that you are the product of the 5 people you spend the most time with.
Right.
Everybody in this company, that's okay. I would be okay spending all the time with any 5 individuals in this company, and I would not be worried about sliding back into my old habits. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because someone's going to be there.
Exactly. Somebody's going to be there with me, for me, doing stuff, whatever, with me. So that's actually a huge reason why I got that tattoo. Flash forward, it actually helped me out way more than you even know last year. Was it last year or the year before? I want to say it was last year my grandpa passed away. No, it was the year before. Sorry, 2 years ago. My grandpa passed away, and I went back to Phoenix to go help my grandma bury my grandpa. Unfortunately, that was the exact same hood that I was wandering the streets at, you know what I mean? And fortunately, I had gotten this tattoo because there was so many times where I would walk by a gas station and get triggered, walk into a store and have somebody offer me something with my grandma still right there, dude. And not only because I had my grandma there, or like not because I had like come so far already, but like a huge part of it was like I've come so far, dude. Like, and looking down at my arm, seeing that tattoo, like GRIP6 is there, dude. Like GRIP6 has always been there to help me through whatever I've needed. And so they're like, hey, it was there as a reminder, like, you've worked too hard to even think about that, dude.
Was it this experience? Do you feel that if you had been in a company that you were just in, because
another number,
yeah,
let's be real, that's what I wouldn't be, I don't think, where I am today. I really don't think so.
Yeah.
Like, to be fully honest, bigger companies tend to have massive amounts more of employees, which when you have that big of an amount of people, the differences in personalities and ideas and interests are going to be very drastic, right? And one of the survival techniques that I utilized growing up is, like, I was very much a chameleon, right? So I would fit into and adapt to my environment.
Okay, yeah.
And me coming here, I did the same thing, but it was an environment that I was pleased to be around. And then it has also helped me learn how to not have to do that, you know, not have to turn into what those guys are doing to be part of the group. No. It's not
you
good.
Found yourself.
I found myself, dude. I found myself. It was crazy.
Yeah.
It was so cool, dude.
I don't even. So here's the thing is like I don't even know who that Ryan is. Like,
yeah,
that's the thing is, like, I know you as Ryan.
Have I ever shown you my mugshot, dude?
No. Oh,
buddy.
This is.
You're gonna laugh, dude. You're gonna be like, "There's no way." I showed
Brendan?
No, I showed Mike.
You showed Mike.
Old Mike, you know? The
Yeah,
one
yeah.
that, and he was like, "There's no way that's you, dude." And I'm like, "I swear, dude, that's me."
Oh, I can't. Yeah. This was not rehearsed.
This was definitely not.
I wasn't like, hey, like, he's like, oh, wait till I show you. No, I just wasn't.
You didn't even know.
And, you know, this is like, we do, I think part of this podcast, this is some of the reason why I wanted to do the podcast, because, like, there's so many people in companies that have stories that, like, you don't know. And there's other people that I'm excited to get on the pod that have interesting backstories that just, they found GRIP6 via a friend or whatever, and they've really been able to, like, contribute to the company, but also just, like, they had a whole different life.
Yeah.
And it's pretty awesome.
Dude, yeah. No, I would say my turnaround as far as December 30th, 2020 is when I checked myself into detox. Yeah. We're sitting in May of 2024 now and still have yet to even look at one of those drugs since. Yeah. And it's been so nice, dude. So nice. I love going to sleep in a bed. The appreciation that I have for that is ridiculous. Even when we do have the stressful days here at work, dude, I am so much more blessed to be able to come to work with shoes on my feet, socks on my feet
that I made,
and come to contribute to something bigger than me and not feel like dirt while I'm doing it. It's a way better feeling to come to work on those crappy days when we have launches, when we have those crazy chaotic pushes, because I think back, I'm like, dude, at least I'm not homeless. Like,
at least I have socks.
At least I'm not, yeah.
That keep my feet warm.
Oh, we're getting close now. There it is, dude.
Okay. Whoa.
Yes, sir.
Dude, you got kind of like a Kevin Bacon feel, bro.
Kevin Bacon.
Have you heard that before?
Not Kevin Bacon. What did who was it that Mike said?
Whoa.
Yeah, it's not even the same person. And then, dude, you know, it's even funnier too. So that was my actual mug shot itself. That was me going into court for it, and even the judge was like, "Bro, there's no way."
Going to court
for that because that charge was back in 2019. I took care of that charge 2 years ago because I was like, I don't need this hanging over my head. It's too much. So that was actually right after I was pulling wire here. I had to get stitches in my forehead because I pulled a metal box off the wall, and it flung and hit me in the face, dude. I almost lost an eye. BJ,
dude, be careful, bro.
I know. BJ made me go get stitches. I was like, bro, just let me do it myself. I'll stitch it myself. He's like, no, you're not going to stitch it yourself. It's like, fine, I'll go get stitches.
Dude, thank you so much for coming on the pod.
Dude, yeah, this was so much fun. Let's do it. More episodes for sure.
We will have you again.
There's still so much knowledge to learn. for both of us, dude.
Yeah, I've only been here for a short time, but I've been impressed with the amount of people that have been impacted by this company. And I think, like, I've been in some pretty corporate jobs. And there's definitely, I think part of it because we are a company that is going direct to consumers, right? There's this level of everybody who's here is contributing to the team.
Yep.
And despite days like every job has frustrating moments.
Exactly.
We want to help contribute to something bigger.
Yeah. Yeah. And all of us I feel like are working towards the same goal. And it's super easy to want to come to work when you feel like everybody's like there to get the same thing done. And essentially we're all just trying to make it through the day. We're all essentially just trying to make this company super profitable, trying to provide great products to the public, you know what I mean, for reasonable, good prices, especially for what it is, you know what I mean? And when we're all focused on something, the unity and the camaraderie that brings, dude, is honestly been a super big help here and in my personal life too.
That's amazing. Okay, final question. If you had what would you tell somebody who might be struggling with a challenge, whether that be addiction or something else? What's the thing that you think, like you mentioned a couple, but like if you were looking back and you were like, if you were talking to someone that was similar to you, what would you say?
So there's a couple, right? It depends on where the person's at. Realistically, if they're at the lowest of lows, I'd tell them that I love them and that I care about them, right? Because that's what they need to hear at that point. If they're not there and they're just in there doing their thing and they're in a rut, they don't know how to get out, I would say you owe it to yourself to have a good life. You've struggled enough. You've struggled more than enough.
And then what would you like to say to owners for giving you the chance to...
Thanks for not canning me, and thanks for giving me the opportunity to prove myself. They really have. They've put a lot of faith into me and a lot of trust into me. And sometimes I feel like I'm like, why me? You know, I'm like, but I appreciate the chance every single time. Every time they give me something new to accomplish, I do my best to get it done right then and there, you know, just because I know everything can be done. There's nothing in this world that anybody can't accomplish. It's just whether or not you want to, how hard you work for it, and, you know, if you actually dedicate the time to getting it done. So thank you guys. Thank you, BJ. Thank you, David. Thank you, Winslow. Thank you, what's his name? Kevin. Kevy Webby.
So, and thank you, Ryan, for coming on the show and being an open book and talking to us about your journey. It's been awesome to get to know you more.
Yeah.
Today, but over the last couple of months working together, and keep up with the great work. I'm excited to see what you do with New Socks and for other people to enjoy.
Hey, thank you so much, Danny.
All right. Well, that's in the works. Thanks for joining us. This podcast is where we celebrate ingenuity, resilience, and craftsmanship through the interviews with people like Ryan at GRIP6. So be sure to leave us a comment or a review. It really does help us get discovered. And remember, you can find us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, or wherever you get your podcasts. We'll see you guys in the next one.
Thanks.